This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello, and welcome to episode 16 of the Good Neighbor Podcast here in Pasco County. We are super excited today. We have Dr. Lisa Brooks, who is the owner of Origami Orthodontics. How are you doing today, Dr. Brooks?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, we are so glad to have you on. One of my biggest things as a kid was I had all these, I was chubby and I had, acne, but I never needed braces. So it was always like the one thing. I never had to do that. So
hey, guess what? Me too.
Oh, good for you. Oh, you had acne and you were chubby also, or you
just
didn't need
I
braces?
never had needed braces as a kid. Actually, no, my parents said, "Do you want braces?" And my brother and I were like, "No, definitely not." And then, as an adult, we then kind of looked in the mirror a little bit more, and then we got braces as adults.
Maybe we should have listened to mom and dad. That could kind of be a recurring theme of a lot of conversations. Maybe I should have listened to mom and dad.
Yeah, so, but everybody went through that.
Yeah, everybody went through that, right? That's ages 12 to 21-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So just a little bit about the Good Neighbor Podcast and what we do, why we do it, how we got started. In 2020, when COVID hit, in Southwest Florida, a guy by the name of Charlie McDermott started the Good Neighbor Podcast just because everybody was social distancing. We couldn't meet and have conversations with people, and it was a way for businesses and definitely like community outreach people to get in touch with and get in front of the community. So that's why we do it. That's how it got started. And the nice thing is the Good Neighbor Podcast is a national podcast. I happen to be the person here in Tampa that does it, and I'm based out of Pasco County. So hence the Good Neighbor Podcast Pasco. But our goal is just to bring awareness to businesses, local businesses that are trying to get their brand out there in front of the residents in the community. So that's how we got started and why we're here. And that's why we're fortunate enough to have you with us. So the main first question why we're here is tell us a little bit about your practice. Tell us about your business.
Yeah. So my business is orthodontics, and in orthodontics, I focus on fixing bites and straightening teeth by using metal braces, clear braces, and an Invisalign or removable clear aligners. I do not do cleanings and crowns and fillings and all that stuff. I'm a specialist in tooth movement and orthodontics. So my services go from kids, like at the youngest is usually age 7 to the typical middle school, teenage years, all the way up to adults. So I have plenty of patients that are, in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I've even had patients in the 70s. So everyone is focused on the same thing, feeling more confident, having straighter, more beautiful smile, and also having better function.
So let me ask you this, and we kind of touched on it in the opening a little bit, but so you didn't really need braces as a kid, or you did need braces as a kid, but you just didn't really want them when you were going through that teenage kind of awkward phase. You didn't want to add to it a little bit. So you said, well, I'm going to wait until later. So, but how do you get a passion for this? Like, how do you get into this field? What prompted it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So since I was young, and certainly throughout college, I always knew that I wanted to go into healthcare. And I was a little bit more thinking about doing medicine. But as I was in college, I really gravitated towards dentistry because really all of the fields of dentistry are just as much artistic as they are science-based. So the actual practice has that art to it. So that got me into dental school. And then once I was in dental school, I gravitated toward orthodontics because of how positive the environment was, really. I did lots of, I pulled out teeth and did dentures and, fillings and all that stuff in dental school. But the thing that the place that I felt happiest was where everyone else wanted to be there for the most part, and just going and getting to know your patients on like a longer term journey, because moving teeth does take a period of months to even years sometimes. And I just figured out that ortho is like it's artistic and kind of like a little puzzle. So everyone's their own little puzzle. And so that just suited my personality. So that's how
So
I got
that is a really unique answer. Like I would not have expected that. So when I think of the medical fields, I think of science, and I think of, that whole scientific brain of the way a doctor would work. So what you're telling us, what you're telling our listeners is, besides you having this tremendous ability in the science side of the medical field that you're in, you're truly an artistic person as well. So you have that whole artist side. So besides straightening people's teeth, do you paint Rembrandts and stuff on the weekend? Like, what is your other artistic interest?
Well, before I had kids, I had a lot more free time for my personal artistic development.
Yeah, that will definitely put a damper on your free time, for sure.
But before I did have kids, I was into sewing.
Okay.
And I really like to make very impractical things, which is kind of the opposite of my daily personality.
Like mittens? Like
No,
in Florida, mittens?
Historical costumes.
Oh my God. So you are one of these people that goes to like a Renaissance festival and eats like a giant turkey leg. That's you, what you do?
Yes. But it's like a long-term commitment to make one of those outfits. So that's what I'd like to do. Like those projects and kind of get back to it. So I have the patience. It kind of all came in line. Like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like sewing. You have the pattern pieces. We got to make it together. This is going to take a long time. We have these different deadlines and kind of planning it out. So yeah, that was one of my things to do outside of it. But nowadays, we're painting with watercolors at home and like playing with the kids.
So how old are the kids?
I have 4 daughters.
4?
Yes, no sons.
Your poor husband. There might be a whole other podcast interview involved with your husband, just to like a whole coping and meditation podcast for how to deal with 5 women.
Yeah, for real. So the oldest is 5.5, and then 5.5, 3.5, and then I had 1.5-year-old twins. So we had the chance to get a boy.
Wow. I don't know if this podcast is going to air video wise, but like my jaw is on the floor. Like that is, a buddy of mine has twins, and he said, our first daughter, she was so great. She was so easy. She slept through the night, and he'd tell her what to do, and she would listen. And then we had twins. He goes, the twins almost killed us.
Yes.
I can't imagine 3 and 4 being the twins. God bless you.
Yeah. Honestly, that was some trying times. That first year of the sleep and everything. It's gotten a lot more fun now that we can sleep.
Right. Well, sleep always helps. Yeah, sleep always helps make things easier.
Yes.
So if someone's in your chair, we want to this is a disclaimer here. If someone's in your chair getting braces, full disclosure, you definitely had a good night's sleep before you worked on anybody's teeth.
Yeah.
But if the kids are driving,
minimal sleep and people talking all over the place, still tune it out. I could focus. And I have to do that in my office too.
Well, I was thinking that too when you first said the age ranges, and I'm like, I can imagine your waiting room on a busy day with people ages 7 to 17 as like the majority of what's running around in there, and the conversations that are going and what people are getting into. It's got to be like headphones on, focusing on the teeth, and just kind of making sure you're keeping your head down and doing your thing.
It feels like home.
Right. It's you go from the frying pan into the fire is the expression, right? So you leave home and the 4 under 5 is going crazy, and then you go to the office and it's like round 2. So
yeah.
So it's good. It's like you're battle tested when you get into the office, juggling and noises and all that.
Yeah. The orthodontics, the dentistry is the easy part.
Right. The actual science is the easy part. That's probably the easiest part. So, we kind of talked about it a little bit briefly. Like, what would you say is the biggest myth or misconception that people have? I know you touched on it, saying like braces just aren't for, kids that are going through their teeth changing and their bodies changing. Is the biggest misconception like a lot of adults have braces or some sort of change, some sort of adjustment?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons why adults would benefit from orthodontic treatment is that our bodies are always changing as we get older, right? Like everybody kind of knows that, but that also means that our teeth are shifting and changing as we get older. So if you had a great smile as a teenager, like you may not have needed braces then, but especially now, like in the post-COVID Zoom era, everyone's kind of looking at themselves, and you can see that your teeth change. They tend to crowd over time some more, and you can fix it. You don't have to have that continue to get worse. So yeah, doing that and keeping it in place. Back in the day, and a generation ago, orthodontists would kind of give you a retainer, say wear it for a year, and then you kind of ditch it.
Right.
But because we know now that our teeth also change with age, retainers are very important, and I recommend everybody to wear it for the rest of their life to preserve their investment and all the effort that they went through during their braces or Invisalign. And it really is a partnership. Like even going through the treatment, we need participation from patient and from me. So we work together to make sure that we get the best result.
So I guess my next question from that though would be, so do you find, I mean, in the time you've been doing this or just in general, with the advancement of something like Invisalign, do you think adults are more apt to want to get their teeth? Like, whereas in the past, if you were like 30 and you had a mouthful of metal braces, it might be kind of like looked at differently. I don't know what the right terminology would be, but just seemed like it's a more, the stigma was that was what you should have done when you were a kid.
Right.
So you think with Invisalign that's made more adults become more active clients?
Absolutely. It's definitely expanded people's comfort with receiving orthodontic treatment. Invisalign has, and in general, also because of that, I have a lot of adults that choose to do braces as well. So that stigma is slowly disappearing because people, in general, about cosmetic procedures. People are being more open about taking care of themselves, and it's not really anything to be ashamed of. And it's really the patient's choice, usually, if they want to have braces or if Invisalign, because nowadays I'm pretty confident that most of the things that I can do with braces, I can do with Invisalign when it comes to adults.
Okay. And is it from I know we talked about braces are an investment. It could be months and even years.
Correct.
From a timing standpoint, does one have an advantage over the other when it comes to timing? Like would metal or when I was a kid, a lot of people had like clear braces, but it looked like they looked nasty after a while. Like they'd get anything you drank or ate would kind of get in there. Is there an advantage to metal braces from a timing standpoint to Invisalign, or is it kind of a wash?
It is very similar.
Okay.
Each system has its own strengths and weaknesses, but really, in the end, the treatment lengths are the same.
Okay.
The area where treatment lengths goes longer is typically with Invisalign. If I run into patients not wearing them like they're supposed to, because you take them out to eat and to drink and to brush, which is one of the benefits. But if you don't replace them in a timely manner and you don't have them on your teeth for long enough, then your body isn't going to change as fast as if it had a consistent pressure from braces that are glued on your teeth.
And then I guess another follow-up question I have with that is there a line where someone might come in and their teeth are is there an instance where someone's teeth are so bad where they need, like, where orthodontistry is not going to work? Like they need actual, like, do you see any patient where you come in and go, well, you really need to see like an oral surgeon or like, does that happen often?
It does. So more commonly, people have so much crowding and not enough space for their teeth that they need to have some teeth pulled in order to fit everything in their mouth. That happens quite commonly. I would say about 20% or less. And less commonly than that, there are patients that the way that their jaws grew is disproportionate. So most common, it's like you have a small lower jaw and it's just, there's no way to get it to fit with the top.
Gotcha.
And there's varying degrees that will change how your bite fits together and how your face balance and proportion is. And also people can grow asymmetrically, right? So that affects how everything fits together. So yes, I do have patients in my practice that are getting treatment with me and our plan to go with an oral surgeon and have gone with the oral surgeon for jaw surgery to
Right.
fix the whole jaw complex. And because sometimes you can't move teeth outside of the bone of the jaw.
Right.
And if the jaws are too far apart from each other in any of the dimensions, then you have to move the jaws to get it to
Right.
fit a little better. And
So you have to almost make the puzzle a little bigger so that you can actually fit the pieces together, to use kind of your quilting term, your quilting analogy.
yes.
So, all right. So talking about some of the things that you do, I mean, you have you're a professional, you're a doctor, you have a very, you know, specific thing that you do. So even though I'm sure every day there's some nuance and difference to it, how do you break out of that besides the quilting and stuff and changing probably diapers and things like that? What other things do you guys do for fun that you do to get outside of work to blow off some steam?
Well, as a family, we like to take little vacations. We just got a travel trailer camper. So
Cool.
we just got back from a road trip where we drove through New Orleans, West Texas, and the whole goal, and we visited my brother in Alabama, saw friends in Atlanta. We did like a little, quite a road trip. So our goal was to see the stars and see the Milky Way in Big Bend National Park in Texas. So we try to get out of our typical routine during times that we usually don't have as much demand from our patients. So fortunately, because my kids are young now, I can pull them out of school
Right.
at the end of the school year when kids are in testing, or it's usually around the testing times of the year. I can take a little bit of vacation and we can get out and go have some new experiences.
So tell me about this trailer. Is it like is it a trailer that you drive it, or is it attached, like you pull it with the car?
I pull it with our truck.
Pull it with your truck. So this is when you get to where you're going, you could set up camp and then you have the truck to go wherever you guys need to go.
Yes.
And how do the girls do on these long trips? I mean, do you have the video like playing going on? Like, is there Blue's Clues and Bluey and Coco Melon going on like crazy? Are you brainwashed by Coco Melon?
So yeah, my older ones, like I'm pretty sure that like Bluey is like just stuck in our heads right now. It's a good show though. And then the babies, they were more like reading books and eating just constantly.
Sounds like me, actually. It sounds exactly like me in a car trip, just eating constantly.
Yes, just eating constantly. Yeah, we did make a lot of breaks and stuff, but it was actually kind of great traveling with the trailer because instead of having to use like gas station bathrooms, we'd be like, let's just use our bathroom.
Yeah.
And have all the space to change bathrooms, and they did great.
The nice thing about the trailer is that you're making I mean, even though they're little, I mean, those are memories that they're gonna carry on, and hopefully, that's one of those things that you can keep doing until they become teenagers and they hate everybody and they don't want to talk to anybody. So you got to get it in now while you can and enjoy it, and then hopefully they'll come back around at some point. But
Sure.
man, I don't know your husband, and I'm just picturing him. Does he have a halo? Is there a halo that he carries around with him, or is it like, does he keep it in his pocket? I'm imagining him like in about 12 years from now, 12, 13 years from now, just like polishing guns in the living room when then proms are happening, and there's a whole series of things that I picture a girl dad doing.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. We don't have to do any of that yet. And so far, I'm the one with the gray hair, right?
Listen, so we talked about video and audio for the podcast. I always make a reference to it because I have all this gray hair in my beard, and I don't feel as old as I should. I don't feel like I should have all this gray hair, but I guess time catches up to all of us at some point or another. But four kids would definitely escalate that process quite a bit.
Yeah, we're definitely always busy, but it's just kind of become what we like. It took a lot of work to open the practice, and I had to work another job during that time, and so I sacrificed a lot of family time in their early years for my older ones in order to be able to do this. And now we have more flexibility, and our systems are smoothly running, and we have an awesome team. So they take great care of our patients, like for any little minor issues when I go away on vacation. So everyone's always well taken care of.
Well, you kind of set up my next question is, you know, at some point in your journey, I mean, everybody runs into a hardship, and having to work another job while getting your practice off the ground is definitely, you know, it's not a hardship, but it's kind of like a hurdle you have to overcome. People listening to this, you know, a lot of times I run into, especially with professionals like doctors and lawyers and people that are in that upper echelon with, you know, you have professional designations, you've done things education wise to gain this level. And a lot of times I think regular people like, you know, me, like a regular person says, well, you know, we put you on a pedestal. So from a relatable standpoint, tell the people listening a hardship that you might have gone through the course of your career, whether it's personal or professional, that now you've used that hardship to be able to kind of galvanize yourself into your career to get you to where you are today. How have you made, you know, lemonade out of lemons?
Yeah. I'm the kind of person that I really like doing things like studying and learning. So the part that sounds maybe harder for most people, like hearing my journey, is like the school part. But I worked hard with that. But again, with that, you can focus. You know, have good maintain your focus really well, and I enjoy that. But I really felt like those first years of opening my office was the hardest because I was working 6 days a week every single week for over 2 years. And I know that there are lots of people out there that do that on a regular basis. And yeah, just sacrificing the family time was the hardest part for me. But that's really why I went into dentistry, was to be able to ultimately have more family time. So um, my my struggles have been with a plan in mind to, in the end, hopefully, to have it get easier. And yeah, the time investment with the office has paid off. Now I don't have to have the second job, traveling all around Tampa Bay to Bradenton and everywhere anymore, and I can get some more time with my kids, and that's what life is about, I we had many years there of like you're kind of living to work, and now I I want to be able to live and work, and I'm not living to work.
Right. Like
Yeah,
your life isn't your work. Your work helps feed into your life, type of thing.
yeah,
Is
for
kind of
sure.
what you got.
Yes.
So
Love work.
when did you open?
We opened in December 2018. Yeah, so we're coming up on 5 years here.
Good for you.
Yeah,
And then
so it's young.
how I mean, Florida was a little different than the rest of the country during COVID. I mean, obviously this podcast was born out of that, and a
Right.
lot of businesses adapted during COVID, and we didn't have in Florida that 2 year, 18 months to 2 year window where we were locked up and locked down. But did you guys have to make any adjustments during that period? Obviously some. I know like there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. How did that affect the business, and when did you start to see it turn around?
Yeah. I mean, we came to Florida because my husband's family is all here in Tampa, so that just kind of worked out. And I feel like us Florida people were definitely lucky during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but all healthcare facilities except for, hospitals had to get shut down for 8 weeks.
Right.
And it was really because of a supply chain crisis with not having enough gloves and masks and PPE equipment. So
Right.
we opened up after that, and people are gradually going through, and in general, not as many people were looking to come into offices. They weren't comfortable yet.
Right.
But we did see a big increase in the number of people interested in treatment during 2021. In Florida, by 2021, it was pretty much, hey, we're
Yeah, it was
back.
over. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a free for all. Let's have a big house party and everybody breathe on each other.
Yeah, right. So 2021 was a little bit busier than 2020 because the people that were more hesitant were starting to come out, and there was a little bit of a backlog of demand. So uh, there wasn't that much waiting period, again, because of the openness of Florida, but that happened to a greater extent in other states.
So people listening to this, I mean, I know you kind of touched on it earlier about, like you are the head person in charge. You are the owner, you're the doctor, you see all the patients. But if there's one thing that you really want to convey to the people listening to know about your business, about you personally, about your philanthropy, whatever it is you want them to take away from this podcast, what would that be?
That we care about every individual, and every person is an individual. And our goal is ultimately to make you happy, and to achieve the goals that you want. And most people that come into the office want to have a beautiful smile and feel more confident. So basically, we are here to boost your confidence. And if any of our patients need anything, we're always available to you. I have my cell phone on our emergency line if it's needed. Fortunately, it's very infrequently needed with orthodontics.
Right.
Everything is a little bit less intimidating than it used to be like a generation ago. You don't have to come in as much. Everything is more gentle.
Right.
And yeah, if you're looking to improve your smile and your confidence, then perhaps orthodontics is something to consider.
That is the one great thing. I mean, your career is literally trying to make people smile more. So it's like the medical version of a comedy club. Like you literally are going there to get a better smile and actually be more confident and go out into the world and be able to do podcasts and have a big giant grin on your face and so that is a great thing. You're bringing people together in a way, because where people might be apprehensive in their conversations or maybe be a little bit timid in their conversations, by your craft and your art, you're helping them to be more confident and be more outgoing. If the big question is, how do people get a hold of you? And we'll put all this information in the podcast when we put it out, but just so the listeners can hear it, what's the best way to reach out to you? Phone number, email, website, etc.
Yeah, it would be to look on our website, which is origamiorthodontics.com. Origami is spelled Origami. And on there, you can find all of our information about treatments, more about me and my life and my practice. And that would be that you have to have the phone number on the website and everything. And that would be the best way to contact us.
Awesome. Dr. Brooks, thank you so much for being on the Good Neighbor podcast. It was my pleasure to have you on. You have given me a whole bunch of things to think about, whether that's 17th century outfits and cosplay, or your husband who probably should be nominated for some peace prize. Yeah. But I do really appreciate having you on. It was a great time. Thank you so much for being on with us. Guys, you've been listening to episode 16 of the Good Neighbor podcast with Dr. Lisa Brooks of Origami Orthodontics in Land O'Lakes, correct?
Correct.
So if you are in the Land O'Lakes, Odessa, Wesley Chapel area, and you are looking to smile more, reach out and contact them today. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Passcode. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasco.com. That's gnppasco.com, or call 813-922-3610.